Welcome to the third half presented by Gilbert Rugby Canada. I'm David Cameron Donaghy, live from Rome. Today we are very fortunate to have one of our Bingham 2026 bid competitors joining us. We have live from Brisbane, Australia, Jason Garrick, who is chair of the Brisbane Organizing Committee. Jason, welcome.
G'day. How are you? Nice to see you. And I'd like to just acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land which I'm beaming in from today, the Yagara and Turrbal people. Our First Nations representatives here in Australia and First Nations queer communities, we wouldn't be experiencing the privilege we have in rugby. So I just want to pay my respects to their elders.
Oh, thank you for that. So let's dive right into it because we'll forego any of the. What are your thoughts about your experience in Rome? Let's talk about Brisbane. What do you think number one is your biggest highlight?
Okay, well, I can't talk about Rome, but what I can talk about is the 4 Bingham Cups that I've been to before that. And the whole vision of the Brisbane Hustlers bid, in terms of our highlight, is that we want to deliver a festival of rugby that is all about rugby and about the family and the experiences and the community out of. I'm so fortunate as part of my history with the Hustlers to have been able to benefit tournament after tournament after tournament, where you can really embrace each other as brothers in rugby, and you experience the really wonderfulness that is the tournament and the feeling that you walk away from. Bingham, a Bingham Cup in Brisbane, and what we want to achieve is our vision is to bring together people who want to be there and be the best selves and bring their best selves onto the rugby. There is a special thing about both the Bingham Cups and the Amanda Mark Cups, all of the divisions, that the whole tournament itself, where no matter what you might feel in your home clubs, in your home environments, in your home territories, where maybe there still is some challenges to being accepted in your local competition, we want you to break away from that. And that's what Brisbane is all about. And that's what our tournament is trying to achieve. Our tournament is going to be completely enmeshed in the local rugby community here in Brisbane. We've split it across 2 sites and have an option for a third if we have a lot of attendees. But they're all going to be satellite hubs, very connected. And also at each of the locations that are proposed, there's going to be athletes' villages and also a really, really club rugby feel. Club rugby here in Australia means that you're able to have a beer with your mates on the sidelines after the game. It's having those social environments that are so close to the actual playing ground and the playing sphere. So we're currently working with North's Rugby Union Football Club, our home club that we are affiliated with, to deliver 3 fields there with the potential with some further negotiation. We're not there yet. I don't like to overpromise and underdeliver, but we do have some potential for using other clubs immediately located next to it, either for touch or potentially for further fields if they allow us to erect temporary rugby posts. So we could move up to 5, but definitely 3 playing fields at Norths and a minimum of 2 training pitches or touch pitches at Norths co-located as well. That's number one. And also Norths is within 15 minutes transport using convenient shuttle buses, which we will be organising as part of the registration fee, to getting players to their accommodation and back. Of course, with scheduling, it does mean that people might have to travel a little bit earlier than what they might like to do. But for us, it's about making sure that we deliver people there. The other cool thing about Hustlers is how would you feel about playing footy at night? One of the really important things about rugby here in Queensland, in Australia, is we love night rugby. It's something that's just part of the rugby community, which hopefully is going to actually deliver something that's quite unique in terms of an experience for our rugby players across the world. We play safely under 100 lux lights, and also that allows social aspect of the club, of the clubs, to really engage with each other right to the later hours of the evening. So we're really excited about that. So that's one pitch. One group of pitches, or as I like to call it, Tournament City. And the other Tournament City is proposed to be Ballymore Stadium. Ballymore is the spiritual home of rugby in Queensland. It's the home, home of the Reds, which is our representative rugby team. And that has also been the location of not one but two Purchase Cup, which is the Australian and New Zealand Gay Rugby Championships, which is held on a biannual basis. And we're currently working with them closely at the moment to try to find a way in how we can best utilise that facility, include tournament accommodation facilities, and also they've got a state-of-the-art stadium that has included gyms and all of those things. So we're just in the process of finalising the mechanics and how it would all work. But the point is, Tournament City, again, player accommodation within 10 to 15 minutes of the tournament locations in terms of the accommodation hubs. Again, shuttle buses to and from. Obviously, starting earlier in the morning. Brisbane's a breakfast city. We don't like to get up too early before life starts. So what we're looking at is kickoffs at 10 a.m. And finishing at our final kickoff will probably be 8 p.m. or thereabouts, depending on scheduling and what we need to do. Ballymore also has 3 fields under 100 lux lights, which is a requirement. And the benefit about that venue is we also have TV camera lights. So we're in the process of trying to understand how we would be sharing the footage across the world. And we're working with their partners as well as our own partners around recording and technology and things like that, so that hopefully it's not just finals that we can stream, but games on at least the main fields, so that people can see what's going on around the world. Because I must admit, with the Hustlers, again, this is the first Bingham I've missed since 2014 due to injury and work. So I'm not going to talk about my current level of FOMO, but it's high. But what I want people to experience and to share a once in a lifetime experience of playing rugby in the Southern Hemisphere, in Australia, at the fingertips of amazing tourist locations, and amazing tourism experiences like Australia Zoo, and the Whitsundays and the Great Barrier Reef, so that people come here, the rugby experience of a lifetime, but for an experience of a lifetime.
Now, you mentioned touch rugby before, and I just kind of, pardon the pun, want to touch on that. Is that something that is in the planning stage, or is that something that you're really looking to incorporate? Because I know the growth of touch has been huge over the last couple of years. Are you looking to really take advantage of that?
We are actively looking at how we can implement that, along with a very, very, as we're aware, the size of the tournament is growing bigger and bigger each iteration. But for that awkward period of time on 2020 to 2022, our vision is to deliver a tournament that satisfies the opportunities and the needs of the playing group across the world. So when we talk about touch rugby is one thing. One of the other things is trans inclusion. Okay, so trans inclusion in Australia, we worked with Australian Rugby a few years ago. And when I say we, this is not just a me thing. This is some really amazing researchers who have spent time with the Sydney Convicts, with the Melbourne Chargers, people like Eric Dennison, Ryan Storr, all have worked with Rugby Australia over the years to do some education around this and the unintended consequences of trans exclusion. We live in a we live in a melting pot of culture. A third gender is not new information to many of our communities who play rugby across the Pacific. And Rugby Australia has never adopted trans exclusionary practices and has not followed and has previously committed in the last bid process that they would make sure that they could deliver a trans inclusive experience for players. So that's something that we're very passionate about because we understand that the significant contributions to community people who identify as a third gender or alternatively just don't fit the gender binary contribute to sport and communities here in Australia and across the Pacific. And that is something that we are very, very aware of, and we'll be continuing that work. In 2019, myself and a number of the other then presidents of the Australian and New Zealand rugby associations, Gay and Inclusive Rugby Associations who had IGR membership, we successfully negotiated a memorandum of understanding with Rugby Australia, which was then supposed to help us with the 2022 bid. We're not going to talk about that awkward period in 2020 that might have set things a bit array. But what we're trying to do is we have these relationships and we're really passionate about having an experience where rugby is a game for everyone. The Hustlers have previously also volunteered to support modified rugby, particularly after the pandemic and the challenges that they faced with volunteers. And we're also hoping to celebrate the now 10 years of modified rugby. They're celebrating 10 years and hopefully putting showing the Australian rugby community the diversity in rugby is not just a singularity picture of LGBTIQ inclusion or inclusion. It's actually about rugby as a sport for everyone. Ability as well.
That's fantastic. And I think that would be a first out of any of the, I mean, I've been in Bingham since 2016 and have not seen that.
There was a showcase in Ottawa in 22, which was wonderful. But we'd be looking at giving them a platform as well because we've worked with them. And what's the most wonderful thing to get older in the RGR community. I joined RGR when I think I was 26. A member of the Brisbane Hustlers when I played in Sydney I think it was 28 when I played in Sydney. So it might have been 26 or 27 when I first started playing for the Hustlers in 2013. Rugby is a place where you find family. And what we're hoping to achieve from our tournament is to bring people to Australia so that they have the opportunity not only to play the best rugby of their lives. Ultimately, that's what we want you to do. But we want you to walk away with a family and an international family. You know, I've stayed with my friends from rugby in San Francisco, in LA, in London. You know, I went through a nasty breakup a few years back, and a mate from the Steelers rang me and said, "What are you doing for the next 2 weeks after Bingham?" And I said, "I don't bloody know." And he said, "Well, come to London." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll come to London." So, you know, what we want people to do is, and our whole spirit of rugby in Australia is that we lift each other up constantly. And that's the feeling that I want every single player to be part of. And while touch rugby may create some challenges, our vision is to include it because that is part of the IGR. And there may be some challenges, and I'll be open about that. That is an absolute challenge because it does expand the tournament even more. But I don't like to think of things as challenges. I like to think of
Quick question for you. Looking at the time of year that the tournament is projected for. What is the
Yes.
weather going to be like? Because I heard that I think it was it was in Sydney where Amanda was telling me that it was so muddy from just that time of year. Boots were getting stuck in the mud as
Yes.
people were trying to come up.
I think I would really like to highlight to everyone in the world, Sydney and Brisbane is about 1,000 kilometers apart. We are a huge country. So, and with Sydney, as someone who spent a bit of time at the bottom of a ruck, face down in a muddy pool, thinking, "Is this how I go?" I can say that ordinarily in Brisbane, we experience really, really mild. Well, we say cold. The rest of the world will say, "Are you serious?" So anywhere between 13 degrees at night to about 20, 25 degrees in the day. So 25 degrees Celsius. So really, really mild temperatures. We normally don't have a lot of rain in August. I would also like to highlight with Sydney, I think that was the wettest August on record for them. So I do think that they got given a dirty by the but normally it's a very dry time. Our wet season in Australia, or in Queensland particularly, runs from October to April. So that's when we've really got to worry about things like cyclones and stuff like that. Had some unseasonal wet weather. I mean, real, but hasn't been anything that would, that I believe, pose to help take players so the playability of the fields. So it's going to be, fingers crossed, very comfortable weather. Will need a jumper, but I can confirm that while I might need a jumper, I generally wear shorts in Australia shorts in Brisbane for maybe 3 winter days. So I'm not in shorts for 3 days. Last year winter Thursday.
So, well, that sounds actually really nice. I won't lie. Especially coming from Toronto.
Oh yeah, no. We don't.
Yeah.
We don't do Toronto weather.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We still swim in winter.
Yeah, thanks for that. What do you think the biggest advantage Brisbane has to present the 2026 Bingham Cup?
Biggest advantage Brisbane has. Well, firstly, let's talk about economics. The exchange rate with the Australian dollar is really good. So I was looking up beer prices the other day, and I think I saw in in Europe, the average beer price at a venue is €10 or whatever. Our dollars, but it's to buy €1 is $1.60 Australian. So when you actually start doing the math, where it might feel expensive, similarly with America, I have been to America recently, and it's $5 American to buy a coffee, or $6 American to buy a coffee. It's $5 or $6 Australian to buy the same thing here. So again, our exchange rate, it's about, I think at the moment it's about $1.30 or $1.40 to buy one American dollar. So there is an exchange rate advantage. That's number one. Number two is our connectedness. So these tournaments and our locations, they are within, well, firstly, there's buses, public transport. You miss your bus, so you miss the scheduled buses and you decide to go there, an Uber to either venues. Well, if you're going to Ballymore from the city, you're probably maybe $10 to $15. If you're looking at going to maybe 16 to 25, depending on time of day, Australian. But thing is that our connectedness has been a key thing about why we've delivered major events in Queensland before, and why we're doing the Olympics, and that continues to be a real focus of the local government and state government in providing really good public transport options. Third option about Brisbane is that it's a really, really safe place to visit. We don't have any gun violence. We do not have those issues. When we talk about gun violence, I'm talking about semi-automatic weapons, completely banned. You can. Second, under safety as well. We're a very inclusive city, really stable government. We have obviously conservative and progressive governments. Both of them are quite centrist, and have continued to continue to focus in that way, because it's a bit of a race to the middle at the moment, for economic stability and social stability. So we live in a very, very stable environment, and also our local council is very supportive of us. That's the Brisbane City Council. That's just one government again, and they're going to be in since 2018. So we've got stakeholders who, have been part of the community who left and who touch base with myself and Steve about, hey, where are we going? So that's a really good thing. In that our local councillors are really interested in making sure. Finally, hello the weather, and hello. You've got some of the best beaches in the world. You've got the Sunshine Coast just north of us. That's where my mum lives. You've got Gold Coast to the south of us, and I'm actually working. We can't announce nothing secured yet. But let's just say, if there's a whole bunch of rugbyers from all around the world, no matter who they are, what their background is, it might be a really great opportunity to go to a tropical island and have a bit of a post-Bingham, relaxation event. It's a very calm, polite, light beverages with friends, really good opportunity for people to do that as well.
Well, on looking at the time, I don't want to take too much of yours. What would be your parting word for the clubs around the world that are going to be considering Brisbane as a bid city? What would be that one message you want them to come away with?
We're going to delivering tournament. We are working with our stakeholders to make sure that this is not just a loose promise of this is what we're going to do. We've been working on this for a long time, and we've been working with stakeholders, making them aware for a long time about what we want to do, and they believe in this event as much as we do. Come to Brisbane. It's where you will play the best rugby of your life, and you will have the opportunity to make lifelong friends, because the tournament that we host is all about mateship, all about camaraderie, and about building your family as part of the IGR community. We can't wait to meet you.
Jason, thank you so much. I appreciate your time today, and I appreciate you for sharing all the insights on the 2026 bid. Best of luck to you and the Hustlers. For everyone else, thank you for joining.
No worries, and thank you for your time, and to everyone listening overseas who might be in Rome at the moment. I've been watching the results on Tournify. It's really exciting, and I'm so proud of so many of those clubs pushing themselves into new directions and new tiers. It's so bloody brilliant to see some of those teams challenge themselves to really take it to the next. It's amazing, and I'm so proud of them. That's awesome.
Amazing. Thank you for that. Much appreciated. And for everyone else, we'll be back at 17:15 Central European Time. with the other side of the coin, we'll be talking to the Ciervos Pampas from Buenos Aires.